Hello, second graders, and happy Friday. It's been so great seeing you this week in our small groups and on our class Zooms. Thank you for working so hard on your checklist. Thank you for being patient with your parents who are being fabulous teachers for you all. Thank you for being patient with technology when it sometimes doesn't like to work for us. You know that very well from our smartboard in our classroom, right? So just lots of deep breaths, lots of breaks whenever you're feeling frustrated, right? Refer to your sheet where you made your list of things that you can do if you're feeling sad or frustrated, right? I think that was your pizza. All right. But for now, we're going to enjoy another chapter of Stanley in Space, thanks to Scholastic Publishing Company. We just left off, remember, how Lamb Chops landed on the planet of Tira. They thought that they were going to do this cool, exciting mission from the president. They had no idea that they could end up being held captive by the Tyrans. So let's find out what happens. Chapter 5 is called The Tyrans. Unbreakable trapping cable. Prisoners. Surrender. The Lamb Chops could scarcely believe their ears. I don't call that peaceful, said Mrs. Lamb Chop. Our president has been misled. I wish we had gone to the seaside. Mr. Lamb Chop shook his head. But how are we trapped? I don't. He pointed to the magnifying window. What's that? A thin blue line like a thread had been passed over the Star Scout. Stanley switched on the wiper above the big window, and the first flick of its blade parted the blue line. Drat, said the radio. Other voices rose, startled, and then the deep voice spoke again. Earth people, we're sending a messenger, a regular, ordinary Tyran, just to show you what we're like. For long moments, the Lamb Chops kept their eyes on the tan trees across the field. There, Arthur said suddenly. Coming toward, oh my, his voice trailed away. The Tyran messenger came slowly forward to stand before the big window. A muscular, scowling young man with a curling mustache, wearing shorts and carrying a club. The mustache was very long. The mustache was very large. The messenger was not. That man, Mrs. Lamb Chop said slowly, is only 3 inches tall. At most, Mr. Lamb Chop said. It is a magnifying window. The Tyran seemed to be calling something. All right, what in the world? There is the regular, ordinary Tyran. He looks like a pretty normal human being. First of all, not the alien maybe that we might have imagined. And Mrs. Lamb Chop just said he is only about 3 inches tall. You guys know from our measuring unit. Whoa-wee, that is not a very large man, nor is he a scary-looking alien. I think the Lamb Chops are going to be okay. The Tyran seemed to be calling something. Arthur opened the door a crack, and the words came clearly now. Afraid to let us see you, Earth people? Because I'm so enormous? Ha! All Tyrans are this big. Flinging the door wide, Arthur showed himself. Well, I'm a small Earth person, he shouted. The rest are even bigger than me. I, not me, Mrs. Lamb Chop said. And don't tease Arthur. Oh, he's fainted. Wetting her handkerchief with cold water, she jumped down from the Star Scout and ran to dab the Tyran's tiny brow. Cries rose again from the spaceship's radio. A giant killed Ick. There's another, even bigger. Oh, gross. Look, Ick's all right. The Tyran, by grasping Mrs. Lamb Chop's handkerchief, had indeed pulled himself up. Furious, he swung his club, but he managed only to tap the top of her shoe. Ouch, scat, she said, and he darted back across the field. Oh my, said the radio. Never mind about surrendering, Earth people. A truce committee is on the way. Let's figure out what they mean by that. But it seems as though the Tyrans have changed their mind about wanting to capture the Lamb Chops. At first, they saw only a tiny flag fluttering like a white butterfly across the brown field, But at last the Tyrion committee drew close, and the lamb chops, waiting now outside the Star Scout, could make each little person out. The flag was carried by the scowling young man with the mustache and the club. The other members of the committee, a bit smaller even than he, were a red-faced man wearing a uniform with medals across the chest, a stout lady in a yellow dress and a hat with flowers on it, and two older men in blue suits, one with wavy white hair, the other thin and bald. The committee halted, staring bravely up. Check it out. They look like regular people. I am General App, shouted the uniformed man, commander of all Tyrion forces. Stanley stepped forward. Chief Pilot Stanley Lambchop, he said, from Earth. These are my parents, Mr. and Mrs. George Lambchop, and my brother, Arthur. President Ott of Tira and Mrs. Ott, said General App, indicating the wavy-haired man and the lady. The bald chap is Dr. Epp, our chief scientist. The grouchy one with the flag is my aide, Captain Nick. No one seemed sure what to say next. A few polite remarks were exchanged. Nice meeting you, Earth people. Such a pretty planet, Tira. Thank you. Were you very long in space? And Mr. Lambchop realized suddenly that the Tyrans were uncomfortable talking almost straight up. He got down on his knees, and the other Lambchops followed his example. The Tyrans at once lowered their heads in relief. Right, said General App. All reasonable people here. A truce, eh? I'm for war, frankly, growled Captain Nick, but Stanley pretended not to hear. A truce? Good idea, he said. We come in peace. So, in case you weren't sure about that sparkly word truce, if I'm thinking it might mean like the opposite of war. Captain Ick wants war. Stanley wants a truce, and he says we come in peace. So it means, yep, like a peace agreement. A treaty might be another word for that. They are not going to fight. I don't think that the Tyrans would have much luck with that now. Mrs. Ott sniffed. Not very peaceful. Frightening poor Captain Ick. She pointed at Arthur. That giant shouted at him. My son is not a giant, Mrs. Lambchop said. It's just that you Tyrans are, how to put it, unusually petite. Ick's the biggest we've got, actually, said General App. We had hoped he would scare you. President Ott raised his hand. No harm done. Come. Tyraville, our capital, is but a stroll away. The Lambchops, equipped now with handy magnifying glass lenses from the Star Scout science kit, followed the committee. Tyraville lay just across the brown field behind the tan trees, no larger than an Earth-sized tennis court. And that concludes Chapter 5. We will stop there today, since we are ready to finish our checklist and get on with our weekend, perhaps. But I'll give you a sneak peek at the chapter called Tyraville, starting on Monday. And that helps you again to visualize how large the Lambchop family is compared to the Tyrans. So they landed on a planet of tiny people. How silly. I'm loving this book so far. I hope you are. And I also hope you have a fabulous weekend. Maybe you get some sunny time outside to snuggle up with a good book. See you next week, singers.